All right. The death of the Nexus and the birth of the Google Pixel. This is the very first Google Pixel, and let's take a look at it all these years later in 2022. So this is the original Google Pixel, first released in 2016 as Google's first self-branded phone. This was a big deal. I have a couple different things that I want to talk about in this video in terms of how this 6-year-old phone holds up today, but let's start things off with the design. Looking at this phone now, I mean, I'm holding it out here in front of me. It's not really a looker, I'm gonna be honest. It's iconic, at least to me nowadays, and I think a lot of Google fans as well. But certainly looking at it, it doesn't objectively look that great. However, it did start the trend that lasted for the first 3 generations of Pixel and the Pixel 3a, which is having this kind of two-tone design with the metal on the bottom half and then having glass or kind of a glossy plastic on the 3a for the top half, which kind of became a Google Pixel staple for a little bit. But honestly, I think this phone looks kind of generic by today's standards outside of the interesting glass part back here. Now flipping the phone around to the front, you can see my my Google Pixel has a crack, unfortunately, but it is only one, so that's good. Obviously looking at the front, the screen is mostly dominated by these huge bezels on the top and bottom, which are not even seen at all by today's standards, except for iPhone SE, which actually I think has bigger bezels than this, but anyways, that's besides the point, In 2016, the bezels on the top and bottom were already starting to look a little bit dated. By 2022 standards, you know, it's an aesthetic choice, I guess. Something about it does kind of feel nostalgic having the bezels there, but I guess that's up to you to decide. But that's pretty much all there is to it with the design. There's not a ton else to talk about. The phone was pretty solid. The metal construction was great. It had a nice fingerprint scanner on the back that was not super fast, and certainly doesn't feel fast today, but you know what? Gets the job done. You've also got charging with USB Type-C, thank goodness, and a headphone jack. This was actually the last mainline Pixel to have a headphone jack. And it's the first Pixel. So anyways, that's all there is for the design. Let's get into a little bit of the specs and how this phone feels in a performance standpoint perspective. Standpoint perspective. That's an actual thing, I think. I learned about that in a class before. Standpoint perspective. I don't know what it is. Thanks, college. Oh God. So the specs of the original Google Pixel by 2016 standards were pretty good. We had a Snapdragon 821 inside of this thing with 4 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of internal storage, and there's one spec I'm missing. Oh yeah, 2770 milliamp hour battery, which wasn't amazing, but also not terrible. Today, I think with battery degradation, did I say that right? Today with battery degradation, the battery on this thing is not great, but you know, that's what happens with all older batteries. I think I could get through a whole day using this phone if I just like barely touched it. The cool thing with the performance on this phone is that getting this phone in 2016, it was actually very snappy, very quick. The Android version tops out at version 10 on here, which is now a couple years old, but it definitely doesn't feel as snappy just using things back and forth. But honestly, it's not unusable. From a performance standpoint, if I had to use this phone as my daily driver, I wouldn't be upset. Obviously, it's not the best, but like anyone I think could certainly get by. And since it's Android and Android 10, you can still run all of your modern apps on here, no problem at all. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever it may be, it all works. It also is getting darker and brighter like every 2 seconds. Outside. I don't know what's going on with that. But of course, the key feature that made the Google Pixel stand out, this and all of its predecessors, pretty much, successors, you idiot, was of course that camera. This one came with a 12 megapixel rear camera and a front-facing camera that I don't remember how many megapixels it is. Here, I'll take some photos right now for you. Here's one of what I'm looking at. Here's the set behind me. Here, I'll take one this way. You can see what's going on. And let's take a selfie. I'll take you a selfie using the selfie camera. take a look at that one. But like, look at that, dude. That quality is not bad. This phone is 6 years old, dude. So I think the camera on this thing certainly holds up. In terms of video, okay, not as good, but. All right, this is the video quality on the Google Pixel. You could tell that it has a really tough job with HDR back here in tough lighting situations. However, if I rotate around a little bit, things start to look much, much better. Now, the image quality still isn't amazing. Certainly, you know, not the best out there, but for 2016, it was half decent. By today's standards, usable. I think the iPhone SE 2020 takes worse photos than this phone, but better videos than this phone. That's my hot take. I know some of you iPhone people are gonna get mad in the comments, but whatever. Now just for giggles, I'm going to show you a comparison between my brand new iPhone 13 mini and this 2016 Google phone. Let's take a look at some differences with this. Why is my lighting changing? This is so obnoxious. It was so nice before, and now it's not. So look at these comparison photos between my brand spanking new iPhone 13 mini and the original Google Pixel, and try to tell which one's which. You honestly might have a tougher time than you think when you're looking at these. Like, okay, there's a little bit of a difference between these things, but it's not that much. Keep in mind that this phone is like 5 years older than that one. It's pretty impressive. Overall, I think in 2022, this original Google Pixel still impresses me. The fact that it has held up so well over time. I think if my phone broke and I had to use this phone, I wouldn't be super upset. I think I could get by with it. With that being said, that's pretty much all I've got. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked what you saw, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. I have notifications on for my phone every time somebody subscribes. And so I always see it come in, and it just, dang, it makes me smile, makes me happy. So thank you for that. Yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you around. Peace. Yo, hog champion.